Local people making local decisions, serving our friends and customers, and investing in the communities that we serve. Here for you yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Apex Bank of Camden, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Operation 7570 on this Saturday. Great to have you with us today, whether you're joining us by way of WRJB Radio.com, 95.9 FM radio, joining us by way of Facebook Live today. However you're joining us throughout whatever media you're watching or listening to us, glad to have you with us today. A much, much better Saturday than it was a week ago at this time. Of course, we couldn't do the program last week because of the weather situation. We apologize for that, but we're glad to be back live in the studio today. And today our guest is going to be Mr. Jeff Beasley. He is the Administrator of Elections for Benton County, and we have several elections coming up this year during the 2022 year. We're going to tell you all about that. If you're not registered to vote, we're going to give you some information on that and what to expect in the coming months. But Jeff, sir, welcome to the program today. Thanks for getting up today. I appreciate it.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
Known you all my life, of course, native Benton County, but in case there's some newcomers watching or listening to us today, give me some background information about Jeff Beasley.
Born and raised right here in Camden, Gordon, Virginia Beasley. My parents graduated high school here in 1981, joined the Air Force 1986, got out in 1990, went back 2003, long break in service. I should be retired now. I'm working on that. And spent practically the last 18 years really just sleeping in Benton County because I drove back and forth to Nashville. So it was get up at 3:45 in the morning and get home about 5:30 and eat supper, take a shower, and go to bed.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your service. And you still do some, reserve duties?
I come off active duty and went back into the reserves, and I will do that probably for the next year and a half till I'm 60 and they make me leave.
Well, thank you again for your service, and we appreciate all the military and all branches of services for what they're doing right now, and some trying times, some challenging times, and we just pray entirely for Ukraine and the entire world situation right now, sir.
Every day.
Well, you are the Administrator of Elections for Benton County. Got the job last year, and when there became an opening at the office down there, what made you want to apply for it?
Well, my active duty contract had just about drawn to an end, and it was time to make a decision on whether to go ahead and extend for a couple of years, and then this happened, and I kind of sat down and thought about it, and I thought, well, after 18 years, I'm really tired of driving 230 miles a day back and forth, and my hope was and still is that we can. I'd really like to kind of help or try to heal some of the wounds in the county. I don't know if that's part of the job description, but we're very divided in the whole country. We're actually very divided in the county. And I understand that. I understand people's feelings. It was just, I think, a good opportunity at the right time for me to get to come back home and still serve the people of the county. And that's just kind of what I talked to my wife about it and asked her what she thought, and she said, "Sounds like something maybe you should try." So,
what would be, of course, the old title was Register of Elections. It's the Administrative Elections now. But what would be the duties and responsibilities of your job description? What would that entail?
We run the elections. We register voters. We have voter registration drives. We take care of the records in the election office, and pretty much anything to do with the election process. We have to stay on top of the election laws, which change constantly, and that's pretty much it as far as the duties up there. There's a lot of I guess you'd call it clerical duties, a lot of office work, a lot of files that we have to maintain. There's a time expiration on a lot of files, like your ballots and things like that. So you have to keep those stored and locked and dispose of them at the proper time. It's pretty much a clerical job until it's election day, and then it's Katie bar the door.
Yeah. Going through the first cycle, we'll get into that as the program goes along. But coming in for the first time in this position a few months ago, Jeff, did you have to undergo any special training or accreditation or certification from the state to be in your position?
I'm working on certification right now. There's minimal training. It's kind of like falling off in the deep end of the swimming pool when you're a kid. You got to paddle hard. They do provide about an hour to 2 hours a week of going over some material that they provide for you, and other than that, it's a lot of reading and trial by fire.
Now, do you have a staff? Do you have a staff in the daily operations of the office?
I have a fantastic deputy that is a godsend, Miss Marion Harrington. She's lived here pretty much all her life. Her husband's Walter, and Marion is she's my right arm. I can leave the office and I absolutely have no worries whatsoever that things aren't. I have to tell Marion to leave in the evening. I have to look at the clock and say, Marion, it's 15 after 4. It's 20 after 4. It's time you find a stopping place, because she'll get started and she just won't even look at the clock. She is an incredible addition to the election office. I wouldn't trade her for anybody.
Now, beyond you and your office staff, Ms. Harrington down there, and I've been in the office a time or two, and appreciate the hospitality every time I've been down there, of course, but above you two, would there be a governing body or a commission?
There is the election commission.
Yes, sir. Talk about that.
That's Debbie Dye is the chairman. Janet Higdon is a commission member. Donna Melton used to be a school teacher here in town. She's our secretary now. The way it works is the majority party in the House of the state kind of trickles down through the whole state. So you all have a majority party, so you have more Republican members than you do Democrat members. Right now, we've just appointed Bobby Plant as our other Democrat. We're still a Republican short. Mr. Henry Berry was there, and he resigned so he could run for a commission seat. So anybody that has a very long-standing Republican voting record is welcome to come up and talk to us about maybe filling a seat on the election commission.
And I would imagine even going a step further than Benton County. Of course, 95 counties in the state of Tennessee, and each of these counties would have a local election commission like we do in Benton County. I would imagine there would be an election commission at the state level as well, Jeff?
There is a state level, and it's basically a large room full of lawyers. They've been very helpful to me. Mark Goins, Beth Henry Robertson, Kathy Summers, Andrew Dodd. They got an IT guy up there, Cameron Cook, who has been a great help to me, because every now and then the computers will go haywire, and I can call him, and he always talks me through my problems. So they've been a great help to me so far.
Well, you've been in the office a few months right now in your position, so what do you know now about the operations of an administrator of county elections? What do you know about the job now that you didn't, let's just say, 6-7 months ago?
It's a big job. There is a plethora of information that one has to retain or try to retain. It's challenging, pretty much on a daily basis. There's always something. There's not a day that I walk out of the office that I haven't learned something new. I thought when I, kind of got away from the Air Force, I thought, well, the testing and all this stuff is over with, and I was wrong. But it's I enjoy it. because it does kind of keep me on my toes. My dad would sit every evening and work a crossword puzzle, and he was a very intelligent person. And I said, "Why do you sit and do that every day?" He said, "Well, it exercises my brain." Well, my brain has gone through CrossFit for the last few months, and it's exciting. With the election coming up, there's a lot of preparation. We have machine testing coming up Tuesday, so all the candidates will be up there for that, the commissioners, and then of course from there we'll roll into early voting, and it's something all the time, especially election year. Now you have off election years in the county, which we've already got. We've made plans for the off election year on what we plan on doing as far as office and things like that, and kind of revamping, reorganizing some things. But this year has absolutely been so far it's something every minute of the day.
Now, as I said at the top of the program when we got underway, it's a big election year, 2022. We're going to be voting 3 different months, May, August, and November, I believe. But to set us up, what are the election dates coming up this year, and how will each election that we have, how will these differ from the next election coming up?
May, we have a Republican primary. The Democrat Party in the county didn't have a primary. They caucused their candidates. So in May the 3rd is election day. Early voting starts 13th of April till the 28th of April. Yes, and that'll be at the election office. And 5 days after that, you roll into election day on May the 3rd. Then August 4th election is our county general and our state primary. Okay, and early voting for that starts the 15th of July and ends the 30th of July for an August 4th election day, which that's when we will select our county offices and our primary candidates for our state election. Okay, November 8th is the city election, which will be Camden, Big Sandy, and our state general election. And early voting for that starts the 19th of October and ends the 30th of November.
Okay. Now, as we get ready for the first election, this is going to be May. This is going to be the Republican primary, as you mentioned, Jeff. And in the past, we've had a Democratic primary, as you well know.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. Let me just throw this question out to you right now. Those who have traditionally in the past voted during an election cycle, during a Democratic primary in May, can they vote in this upcoming Republican primary?
They can. There's a process. The one thing that you don't do is you do not deny somebody the right or their voting privilege. That's the fastest way in the world to lose a lawsuit by denying somebody the right to vote. I even have the law book here because I kind of thought you may throw this question at me. There's been a lot of talk about Democrats can't vote in the Republican primary. Okay, I guess the biggest caveat to this, Flash, is that if you're an independent candidate on the ballot in August, then you're probably not going to be able to vote in the Republican primary, as you have already stated that you're an independent candidate. So that would be, I guess, the exception to the rule. But the law book reads like this: a registered voter is entitled to vote in a primary election for offices for which the voter is qualified to vote at the polling place where the voter is registered, if the voter is a bona fide member of and affiliated with the political party in whose primary the voter seeks to vote. You can tell this was written by a lawyer. Okay, which that would be Republicans. Or, at the time the voter seeks to vote, the voter declares allegiance to the political party in whose primary the voter seeks to vote and states that the voter intends to affiliate with that party. So basically what it'll come down to is if there's poll watchers there and they want to question this voter's allegiance, they will take that up with the officer of election, one of the judges, and they will basically have this person to swear their allegiance to the Republican Party. I suspect this is going to happen because in every election cycle you have people that are disgusted with one party or the other. It always happens. People will switch back and forth sometimes. They will switch from Democrat to Republican, Republican to Democrat, and that's basically what this does. Is it will give that person an opportunity to vote. Of course, now if they turn around and vote as a Democrat, then that's a misdemeanor. So it's kind of a give and take. If you're a bona fide Democrat that wishes to switch parties, that's basically what you're doing when you come to vote in a Republican primary.
And I would imagine, let's see, this is a TCA you're reading from?
Yes.
Okay. I would imagine it's got a code number on there, and
It
I would
does.
imagine if people wanted to Google what you just went over, they could take that TCA number, just Google it, and it would pop up for reading in case you would like to.
2-7-140B.
All right, give that again.
2-7-140B. That's and that would be 1 and 2 under subsection B.
And I would imagine, in case people, can't remember that particular number, I would imagine if they would just Google Tennessee election laws, that would it pop up somewhere along the way.
Yeah, you can just about Google anything nowadays and come up with some sort of an answer. And if you want to come by the election office, any questions that anybody has, we're glad to answer them. And if we don't have an answer, we'll get you one.
I want, of course, to ask you about the ballot, what will be on the Republican primary, Jeff. I want to do that. But before we do that, is it still time to register to vote for this particular election coming up in May?
The cutoff is 30 days prior to election day.
Okay. So we're getting close to that.
So we're getting very close, yes.
If a person is not registered, what can they do to become registered in order to vote in May?
They can go to Vote Tennessee, GoVoteTennessee.com and do it online. They can go to the DMV. They will register your vote. You can come by the office, and we'll fix you up there.
Are you getting a lot of people to register to vote for the first time?
We are, and we've had a huge influx of new people moving into the county. Seems like of course, I've just been doing this for a short period of time, but it seems like we've got a lot of people moving into the county, into the area, that are very interested in exercising their voting rights.
And just for clarification purposes, what's the minimum age?
18.
18. Okay, that's
Got to be a
minimum.
U.S. citizen, can't be a felon. It's pretty straightforward on the qualifications to be able to vote. If you're a felon, you can actually go and appeal your felony. You can get voting rights. You can get an expungement depending on the crime. There's some crimes that never go away. But you can get your voting rights or your citizenship rights back by going through the proper channels, and we can instruct you on how to do that too.
If you're over 18 right now...
If you're 18 by
yes,
election
yes,
day.
Yeah, that, of course, yes, of course. But beyond that, if you're 65, 75, never registered to vote, you can still do that
You can
then.
still do it. You can still do it. That's exactly right. That's one thing that we have in this country that our election system is better than any place in the whole world.
Okay. Well, hey, time is already getting away from us. I appreciate you being here today, but we need to take a break right now for our sponsor, our good friends at Apex Bank, and when we come back, we'll go down the ballot for the May primary, the May Republican primary. We'll go down that ballot here in just a little bit and talk about things coming up later in the year in August and November. Stay with us.
For more than 85 years, Apex Bank of Camden has built a tradition of local people serving local people. Although there have been changes over the years, this one thing remains the same. Hometown people that are your friends serving you every day to meet your financial needs. We want to see you grow and prosper. And when you ever have a need, you'll get personal attention right here at home, not in some far-off corporate office. Number one in customer service. Apex Bank of Camden, Benton County's best bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
We're back this morning on Operation 7570. Thank you again for joining us. Our good friends at Apex Bank, the sponsor of the program, as they have been sponsoring the program since 1966, and we appreciate that tradition with Operation 7570 on Saturday mornings. In case you joined us just now, this is Administrator of Elections for Benton County. Jeff Beasley is with us. He's talking about the election process, things coming up in the year 2022. As we've already talked about, it's going to be a very important year for elections in May, August, and November. Of course, the closest election at hand right now is the May election, and looks like it's going to be quite a few contested races on this May election here, Jeff.
Well, May is not so much got a lot of contested elections as much as our general election going to
Sure.
have, because we have, our county commission is nonpartisan, but we have. We do have Circuit Court Judge Part 2, which will have some competition in there. And what else we got? The Attorney General for the 24th Judicial District will have opposition. That's really the only two offices in the primary. Now, there's other candidates that you can vote for, support. Christy Baldwin in the 2nd District for School Board, Kimberly Hartley in the 3rd District for School Board, Mike Holliday for the School Board in the 5th District, and Rebecca Burcham for the 6th District. And then Vicki Hoover is unopposed for Chancery District 24. Judge Bradbury is unopposed for Part 1 of the Circuit Court. And then you have Vance Dennis, Bruce Griffey, and Terry Leonard, all for Part 2 for the Circuit Judge. David Johnson is running as Republican for Circuit Court Clerk, and Mark Ward running for County Mayor in the primary. And Matt Stowe and Neil Thompson for Attorney General. The Public Defender, Robert Gardner, is unopposed. Jay Reedy, the representative for the 74th District, is unopposed currently. And the Tennessee Executive Committee woman, that's going to be our previous Tennessee Executive Committee member has resigned, so that's an empty seat to be filled. And there's, we haven't gotten to the deadline yet for the, it's April 7th for the August election. So
still a couple of weeks remaining.
There could be added to this.
Of course.
Exactly. Now, the Republican deadline is over.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Now, on the Republican primary, some of these offices, some of these things on the ballot are unopposed, and they'll go into the August primary, into the county general election. And at the same time, some of the ones that you mentioned in the Republican primary for offices, maybe some school board seats, running unopposed, but they may have opposition come the general election in August, I believe.
Absolutely. For our school board, Jessica Bell and Justin Thornton are running in the 1st District. Christy Baldwin, Mark Hargis, and Gina Reagan are in the 2nd. Kimberly Hartley, Marco Winters are in the 3rd. Shauna Kennan right now is unopposed in the 4th. And Mike Holliday and Brent Hedge in the 5th. Rebecca Burcham and Robert D. Thompson in the 6th.
So when we actually decide who will serve on the school board coming in September, I guess that's when the new school board terms start, I believe. But these actually will finally be decided during the August cycle. Is that right? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay.
And of course, whoever wins in the Republican primary will go on to their opposition in the August.
That's correct. Yes.
Between Vance Dennis, Bruce Griffey, Terry Leonard, one of those will move forward. And then the Attorney General, which would be Matt Stowe and Neil Thompson, one of them will move forward to the general.
Now, you mentioned some of the judicial some of the judicial offices, of course, the District Attorney General, the judgeships coming up for either Division I, Division II. Judgeships, they're unique in that most offices you serve a term of 4 years, but I believe the judicial offices, they serve a term of 8 years.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And as we move on into August, once we get the May primary behind us right now, we turn into August. Actually, we'll go vote in August, of course, but actually you're going to have two types of elections in August, and you can set me straight here. August County General Election, and we'll have a state primary. Yes, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And that ballot is going to look like a scroll. There's, I think right now there's 29 different questions on the ballot.
Goodness gracious.
So be sure to remember to flip your ballot over because it's going to be two-sided, and if you don't, you're going to rob yourself of the opportunity to vote both sides. You'll miss some offices.
What kind of questions are coming up in August?
Oh, it'll be retention questions on Supreme
State judges,
Court and things like that. And then, of course, we've got a very large group of people running for county commission. There's 10 individuals right now in the first district running for county commission. 5, 6 in the second, 3 in the third, 5 in the fourth, 5 in the fifth, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the sixth.
Goodness gracious.
So there's going to be a wide variety of choices.
Indeed there are. Indeed there are. And you're talking about districts, of course, and I think we have, six civil districts? Six districts, and on the commission, 3 per district. Is that right? 3 per district.
Yes.
So that will be decided come the month of August, of course, for the new term of the county commission, which begins in September. And, we'll have the county general election for pretty well all the offices, with the exception, I think, of assessor of property. I think everything will be coming up in county general.
That's the only one that is not included in this election. It's opposite.
Right. It's for some reason it's opposite on that other cycle.
I'm sure somebody's got a great reason for that.
Absolutely. Then. And also coming up in August, we will have state primary, either a state Democratic ballot or a state Republican ballot, which voters will choose at that time. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly, and that's an ongoing process right now. So Mr. Reedy presently does not have an opponent. I'm sure that's being worked on.
Yeah, he has come in as the state representative. He's the current state representative. I think his residency is over in Houston County. He served in the legislature, I think, 3 or 4 terms right now. And because of the state redistricting, he has taken over Benton County, I believe.
He has. He has a small portion of Henry County and parts of Benton County. And then, of course, our U.S. House has also moved. We now have Kustoff is in the 5th and the 2nd district of the county. That we didn't in the county, we didn't have to do redistricting because our numbers didn't fluctuate in each district enough to have to do that, which was a real blessing for me being the first year. For some reason or another, after that, then they come along and do redistricting on the U.S. House, and they didn't exactly follow the county lines. So the 2 districts, 5 and 2, have moved to the 8th, and the rest of them stay the same. We're sending out letters as fast as we can go and new registration cards so everybody has their information correct when they come to vote. If by chance that you're not, you haven't received your new card, because we're getting a lot of return mail. People, they'll change their address, but they forget to come to the election office and let us know that they've moved. So if you've moved, please come by. We may have a letter for you.
Yeah, very important. If you move from one district into another, and in the moving process, it can be easy to overlook this, but very important. Absolutely. As far as getting your election rolls.
Yeah. I would. I would have never thought to go to the election commission had I moved. My next move, I'm not moving. I've done that enough. So. Well,
yeah, you need to do it. When you driver's license, things like that. So if you have a move, you have to change it on your driver's license. Also remember to do it down with the fine folks at the Benton County.
Well, you can also, if you go to Paris, when you do your change of address, you can actually do a voter registration. They'll mail us that with your change of address. We'll pull up your record, and we will see that you are a registered voter, and once we compare the address, it'll just be an address change. It's a very simple process,
Yeah, okay.
but it helps us out a lot.
Yeah. Well, you've touched on it here, Jeff, and I was going to ask you, of course, so we had the census in 2020, and of course, every 10 years, lines change, and that affects redistricting. It affects, U.S. House of Representatives seats, and you've touched on it. I was going to ask you if that redistricting process was going to affect us here in Benton County, and you've also mentioned how that's going to work for the 2nd and 5th District for Representative Kustoff now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He's from, I think, down around the Memphis area.
I believe so. Yep. Never met him. It's just one of those things that they done and threw on us and said, "Here you go." They sent us some maps and said, "This is what happened." Well, thank you.
And the rest of the districts, the other districts, they'll be still remaining with Representative Green.
Yes,
I guess from
exactly.
Clarksville, Tennessee, who's been up in Congress now a couple of terms. I believe it is. This can be a little bit confusing, if you're not used to it. You got to know. You got to be on your toes.
It can really throw a wrench in the works if you gotta. That's what I'm saying. There's not a day that I walk out of there that I haven't learned something new, and there's not very many days in there that I haven't walked out with a new dose of Advil.
Or something stronger.
I have a large supply of Advil.
Yeah. But I think in the past few election cycles with Representative Kustoff, I think he had a portion of Benton County way up in the northern end above Big Sandy then, maybe 30 voters.
Very small percentage of the voters. And that's the thing. In like our 3rd district, there's, right off the top of my head, I think it's 21 people in the 3rd that their U.S. House district changed, and they couldn't follow the county lines. They did this zigzag thing through town, and I actually got up my car and drove it, and I thought, well, I don't understand it, but I guess they know what they're doing.
Yeah. But this change that we're talking about on that particular level, Jeff, it's not going to affect where the voters are voting with their individual precincts.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, they'll vote in the same place. They're just going to have a different person on the ballot when it comes time for their reelection. That's it.
And in August, again, you want to turn the sheet over and answer all those questions.
Absolutely, and it's going to look like a Dead Sea Scroll, man. It's going to be a big ballot.
Well, when we get into the month of November for the ballot, we'll elect state representatives again on the general ballot in November. Congress, of course, the governor's coming up. Don't think we have a U.S. Senate seat up this particular election cycle, but by the time you get to November, that will be easy. That ought to be easy coming up.
Well, I'll at least know what I'm in for. That's the thing with this, with the May election. This is our first one. I guess as things go, we're still very green at this. So we'll have at least one election, and by November we'll have 2 elections under our belt. Maybe by then we'll have any kinks that we created worked out of the process. That's our hope. We're striving we're working diligently to make sure that we have a smooth process in the election, that everybody can get through the line, vote quick, move along. Because you look at some of these big cities, man, and they've got lines around the block to vote. And we don't have that problem here, but the more smooth, seamless we can make the process, that's what we're trying to do.
Also, we want to remember as well, when we come into November, 6 or 7 months down the road, as we get close to the end of the year, we've mentioned, the major things on the ballot in November, but we don't want to overlook as well, and they are major as well. We don't want to overlook, as you mentioned at the top of the program, City of Camden, City of Big Sandy municipal elections coming up.
Exactly. There'll be some mayor and alderman elections coming up in that. Matter of fact, we put a little piece in the paper about that this past week. I think there was some confusion, and it could very well have been on our part. The one thing about me is if I make a mistake, I'm not a bit ashamed to stand up and say I done it, but I'll fix it. So we put a clarification piece in the paper about that because it seemed like it was misleading what we had put in there. So I wanted to be sure and fix that for everybody so there was less confusion, if I can reduce the confusion that there is right now. So we had the mayor resigned in Big Sandy. She moved out of the city, so one of their aldermen stepped into that position. He's running for mayor, so that gives them an extra alderman seat in this election. And if my memory's right, I've been in Nashville all week, but if my memory's right, we've got 2 aldermen and a mayor in the city this November.
Okay. All right then. And as we get closer and closer to these municipal elections, we'll talk more about that in the coming years as we go along. But we want to get the May cycle out of the way first, without a doubt.
Let's just take one step at a time here.
Absolutely. How many, as you look coming up in the month of May, and we're going to have 6 voting precincts if you choose to go to your poll on Election Day rather than do early voting process, but how many people does it take to operate a voting precinct?
The minimum is 4. You have to have an officer of elections and then 3 judges. 2 of those judges will work as registrars. Okay, we're going to have extra. My plan is to have no less than 5 at the precincts, so we can, like I said, so we can move things along. I want it to go as seamless and as stress-free as possible for people, where they can come in and vote and move along and go on about their day. So my plan is to have extras, because people need a break sometimes, so you can have somebody to switch out with somebody. Of course, there's a chain of custody issue when they do that. We're using poll pads this year, which is an electronic device not hooked up to the internet, which will hopefully move the process along a little faster. We'll still have the signature book there, but there won't be a through M or a L through Z line. You'll be able to go to either line, which in past I've went to vote, as Beasley and being in the A through M, A through L line, and nobody be in the other line, and that line be lengthy. This will eliminate that. You basically download all your voter information into this. It's an iPad, not online, nothing's hooked online, and it's just an electronic device where you come in, you drop your ID. Everybody's ID has a barcode. Your driver's license, your gun permit, your military ID, whatever, it all has a barcode on it. And the iPad takes a picture of that barcode, and it will pull up that voter, and it will actually identify whether they have voted or not. So there won't be, and it takes a lot of human error out of the process. It will show a green dot or a red dot. If you're a red dot, you've already voted. So that eliminates the old proverbial graveyard vote.
And, it makes no difference. You and I have known each other all our lives, as we've alluded to this morning, but if I come in, I've still got to show ID.
Absolutely.
Every voter's got to show ID.
Absolutely. You cannot vote. You'll get a provisional ballot, and you'll have till 2 days after the election to come in with your identification, and there's different processes for voting. If you come in, your address is wrong, we'll fail-safe vote you. Okay, we're not going to deny anybody the right to vote.
You mentioned the word provisional. What is the definition of provisional ballot?
Provisional ballot is when, like, if somebody shows up to vote and they don't have an ID. Okay, or if their eligibility is questioned to vote, then you can vote them provisional, and you can determine after the fact whether they are eligible to vote. And that's done by the Provisional Counting Board. So it's like I said, there was so much to this process that I was ignorant of. It's been, the learning curve is long.
Are the workers at this particular point in time, and it could go all the way up to Election Day, are the workers in place for the polls? Are you seeking poll workers right now?
We are still seeking poll workers. I have a list. We're going to have some training that's coming up, and I will contact everybody that has volunteered already. There's a new law. Actually, it lowers the age for a poll worker down to 16. So if we so choose, or if we're short on poll workers, we can go to the school and we can get high school kids to come work our precincts. They'll be vetted to make sure, that hey, leave the phone in the car. And the good thing about that, there are actually a couple of good things about that. They can get their community service hours. It used to, you could get community service hours or pay. They've changed that. Now you get compensated, plus you get your community service hours. The second good thing about that is they don't have a voting record, so I can look at them. If I don't have enough of one party, I can say, hey, today you represent the Democrats, or today you represent the Republicans, and that will give me the the divided margin that I need of poll workers because you're supposed to have equal number of representation for your Democrats and Republicans. So that's the way if we don't have enough workers, I can use that tool to get the voters the poll workers that I need.
And this is a good civics lesson, a good introduction to politics to these 16-year-olds coming up.
Absolutely, it's a great learning experience for them, and that of course there's going to be there'll be adults that have done this before that will help them along as they go through the day. We're going to have people there to help in the morning when we send out all the supplies and stuff. I'm going to have somebody there to get that out to the car for whoever's taking it down to the precinct. We're just going to try. We're doing our best to Mr. Ward done a great job with the elections. So we're trying to meet that mark and hopefully exceed it. I would like to make things, if I can, run smoother, more timely, and make it a little more convenient if we can do that.
A lot of people may think out there, and I've heard it all election cycles for the past, ever since I've been voting at age 18, a few years ago, goes back 2 or 3 decades, but beyond that, every election cycle, Jeff, I hear it, why do I need to vote? My vote doesn't count. But from your vantage point, from your perspective, why should a person cast a ballot, even if their candidate ends up losing?
I have heard that all my life. I'm not going to vote. It doesn't count. I don't now, nor have I ever subscribed to that thought. Okay, especially in a local election. We are privileged in this country to have the opportunity to elect our officials. Nobody else really gets the opportunity in the process that we have. It's my dad always said it's your duty to vote. I've never missed an election. It's absolutely your duty, and you hear people say, well, if you don't vote, you can't gripe. So I don't know so much about that. That don't stop some people anyway. But it is a privilege. And it's a privilege that, back in when the Iraqis got to vote for the first time, they dipped their finger in ink, which put a target on them. They were willing to risk their lives to vote. We don't have that problem here. You're able to come and vote in an election with no consequences whatsoever to your existence. And it's just something that I always tell people, don't take advantage, or please take advantage of the rights that we have to vote and participate in the process, because there's so many people that don't get that. And I've been all over the world, and you see a lot of things, and a lot of people think it's really bad here. Okay, things have been better. But when you go to some of the places I've been and see the conditions and things like that, this is a great country. It really is. It's a great country.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we should all be proud and go out and vote on Election Day when they're coming up this year, ladies and gentlemen. And anything in closing from you this morning, Jeff? I appreciate you being here, but are we missing anything? Anything that we need to stress today?
I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head. I just appreciate you having me on, giving me an opportunity to hopefully clarify some things, and encourage everybody to get out and vote. Exercise your rights. And if you're not registered, come on down. We'll get you fixed up. People
needing more information about this election coming up in May or any of the other elections for the remainder of the year, or just have questions in general about the political process or the election process, all they have to do is come down and visit with you.
They can come to the office. They can call 584-6144.
And what's your office location?
It is 113 Maple Avenue. It's if you like Craig's Pizza, I get to smell Craig's Pizza every evening, and It's right down the hill from Craig's Pizza, where a juvenile office is in the same building. So.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you the remainder of the year. Good luck.
All right, appreciate it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our program, Operation 7570. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next Saturday morning.
Apex Bank of Camden, proudly serving the Benton County community since 1931. In recent years, through growth and expansion, we've taken that same